Hi everyone.
Hi guys.
Here we are. You'll notice we're still not in our loft. We're in our separate homes.
Yeah.
But we have more exciting content for you today.
I hope so. Yeah.
An unusual one perhaps today.
Yeah. Well, something a bit different. So I think if you've watched the channel, especially if you've watched it a lot, you know that we do quite enjoy vintage fragrances. So this is a whole video devoted to vintage fragrances that we
awesome.
love. Yeah, and that we own. And
it's a style of fragrance now, isn't it? People talk about things being vintage, but of course, vintage just means old, pre whatever year. Yeah.
Well, we've tried to.
They're older fragrances.
We've, I guess it's a big category because it could basically be the entire history of perfume.
We should do that one day.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, we will do it. But I think what we're going to do is just all of these fragrances are pre-2000, and so this isn't in any order. Well, but we're going to try and do it sort of chronologically. But it's not. This is not a top 10. This is not the best vintage fragrances, because we were saying before there are some. There are loads of gaps. There's no Chanel No. 5. There's no Opium. These are just things that we both own and love.
Yeah. And we've not flooded it with all of the Guerlain, interestingly.
Well, yeah, no, we basically decided because
that's a separate thing.
Yeah, we could spend. Well, we have spent a whole video talking about the kind of the history of Guerlain. So we're not going to mention. Well, you've got one with you. Maybe we should get that out of the way.
Yeah, shall give it a little honourable mention.
Yeah,
that's that little bad boy there, Derby.
Yeah.
This is a vintage bottle from, when was it from? The bottle itself is from 1987.
Yeah, so I think it's released.
And the fragrance was made in 1985. Yeah, so this is a 2-year-old bottle. It's not 2 years old anymore, but it was. So that's the only Guerlain I have here.
We'll put a link below to because we've done a whole video devoted to Guerlain. So we're going to talk about other things. We're starting in, what's the year? Is it 85? 1885?
88.
88.
Which one are we talking? Hasu?
Yes.
Hasu, yes. There it is. Lovely, delightful thing from the company Grossmith. We've both loved this a while, haven't we, Dan?
It's an amazing fragrance. It's an interesting.
But speaking of Guerlain, it is a Guerlain hallmark now. If you smelled it, you might think it were Guerlain, but this actually predated Jiki by a year.
Yeah.
And it's just so beautiful.
I wish, again, this is one of the painful things about recording this way, that I don't get to smell it. But it's absolutely amazing. And this is quite an interesting house. That it's a British house with a great history and pedigree. They had a royal.
Yeah.
But it's a house which kind of lay dormant for. Beautiful bottle, but it lay dormant for quite a long time, and it was resurrected.
Yeah.
How long ago was it? About 15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago?
I think so, yeah. And they've released their sort of heritage, what you'd call their heritage fragrances. And I think they're beautiful. I mean, that thing's sort of lotus flower, oak moss, a sort of beautiful heliotrope aspect to it that you find in things like La Bleu, and it's just really beautiful.
It's just
and it smells like 1888, if that's even possible.
But you're absolutely right. But yet there's something kind of absolutely kind of modern and wearable about it. It's just like a great Chypre, and it's the kind of thing that if you can imagine Roger Dove releasing now and putting £1,000 price tag on it.
Oh, easily, totally.
Wouldn't bat an eyelid.
It's I love it. And I'm going to get some of the others at some point as well, like Shemel Nassim and what's the other one I really wanted that I liked? Saffron. I can't remember, but Saffron. Yeah, beautiful.
Anyway, next is a bottle which I can't find. I've got it somewhere, and I had to look for it, but I can't find. But I wanted to mention it anyway, so I'm going to. It's Eucharist by Geo F. Trumper. So it's actually another British house. From 1912, and this fragrance is a kind of a classic masculine fougere. So obviously there's a load of kind of bitter oak moss, but has this amazing blackcurrant note up front, and also quite a bit of caraway as well, which just kind of balances those kind of three things for your oak, because your blackcurrant and the caraway. Amazing fragrance. I think they recently released an EDP version. Was it 2 years ago or something like that?
Yes. Yeah, and it's a big oak moss bomb in a good way.
Yeah, this is one of the instances I kind of prefer the EDT actually, just because it's not quite so intense, and so it just feels a little bit more transparent. So you feel you get to experience everything else a little bit more.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. So Eucharist by Geoffrey.
Yeah.
Right now,
thumbs up on that.
1914.
I know what this is.
Yeah, this is one we both have, and we both bought recently. This is Chypre Mousse from Legrand. Look, and Joe's actually got an unopened bottle. Amazing.
So this is very nice, and it smells very good because it was spritzed in tissue paper in the shop. It's such a good fragrance, isn't it?
It's amazing. It's another interesting house that I guess, like Grossmith, it's a house which it's a French house, Orizia Legrand, but it kind of lay dormant for about 60 years as well, didn't it? So it's resurrected quite recently, and all of these formulas remade, and it's an interesting one because if I didn't know it was a vintage house, it smells so modern. Do you not find that? Like, yes, it's
because it's daring. It's a daring fragrance in the modern marketplace, and I think it stands out because of that. And it smells modern despite being completely classical in its approach as a sort of classical Chypre structure.
It's real kind of classic oak moss heavy kind of Chypre, but the opening is so bright with kind of mint and wormwood. It's
lovely minty. I guess sort of soapy mintiness that just keeps poking its head through. I love it. And a mushroomy sort of aspect as well.
Really, really interesting. Yeah, it's almost like some weird niche, bizarre thing, and yet it's 108 years old.
A house that I can imagine doing something like that now would be like January Scent Project or somebody of that nature.
Yeah. Mm.
It's so beautiful. I can't wait to open it. I had a little sample that came with it, so I've just been using that here and there. I always do that, and then I end up not wearing half of my stuff.
Let's see the box again, because the box
crazy.
Is lovely. It's tied up in a nice bow as well.
And then if I bring it a bit closer, I don't know if that helps, but it's a really beautiful box. It looks like something you'd find in a sort of a tea shop.
It's exactly what you would hope for a 110-year-old fragrance.
It is. It really is.
Right. On a few years to Italy.
Italy. Yes. Great stuff.
Acqua, the Homme, Colonia. I mean, it's just Italy beautiful. In a bottle, isn't it? It's the seaside in Italy. It's everything you would hope for. Oh, it's so kind of uplifting, and it's got that kind of real kind of barbershopy feel to it.
But wonderfully clean, but without being shower gel clean that modern things are.
No, it's kind of got that kind of soapy kind of barbershopy feel, but I love it. And it's interesting because you included the Senza in your spring video, which I own and I really love, and performs a bit better than this. But there's something about this original version which just makes me smile so much.
Yeah, it's also because it represents a lot more than it seems, because it represents Cologne.
Yes,
it represents the whole genre of a beautiful citrusy creation that you put on. And it's also something that I wouldn't mind having as a splash, just to feel ultra traditional.
Yeah, I mean, every time I shave, I think I just want to spray it.
It's perfect. You want to do Macaulay Culkin when he screams
but it is
in Home Alone.
Utterly elegant, but all that kind of orange blossom in there as well. Oh, it's just beautiful.
Gorgeous fragrance.
Beautiful, beautiful. So it's Colonia from Acqua di Parma.
And still available today, still going strong.
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing.
Which is great.
With most of these, I think pretty much all of these fragrances, they're still available. And there's a reason why they've been, selling them for 100 years plus for some of them. Next one is absolute benchmark leather. When's it from? I think it's from the 1920s. It's Knees from...
Yeah, 24, I want to say.
Oh, I forget how good this is. Now,
it's brilliant, isn't it?
If you look back on our videos, there's Joe and I last October, November, we went to the Osmothèque in Versailles in Paris to smell loads and loads of old fragrances in their kind of original versions. And this, Knees 10, was one of the ones which really, really stood out to me. I mean, I've got another bottle of this. I'm gonna spray this on.
It was quite striking, wasn't it? That original formulation.
Is there? There's just a real kind of bubblegummy quality to this leather.
Yeah, I get a big kind of strawberry carnation thing.
Yeah, definitely kind of.
Which is weird, but I love it.
But I said, whenever I smell this one, I always think of whenever you go bowling and you get those kind of leather bowling shoes. Imagine brand new leather bowling shoes. That's what I think when I smell this. But as I say, this is one when we smelt it in the Osmothèque. I was really absolutely blown away, and it made me feel a bit sad about the current formulation because it really wasn't the original glory.
But it's wonderful, and it feels like a very classical thing, but because it's still available today, and things are not being made like it, certainly in the sort of mainstream market, it feels completely modern at the same time.
But the thing is, a million things have been made. Like, this is kind of a, I know there are lots of Quidosi fragrances, but this is a gentleman's leather fragrance from the 1920s. This is where it happened.
Yeah, and possibly the only fragrance I can think of from Vienna, in the sort of big Parisian sort of dominated market we have here.
Absolutely, yeah. Amazing.
Great stuff.
Next, back to France. I think this is one which we've both got here.
Yes.
Porganon.
There she is.
Yeah. This is from...
Lovely stuff.
1934. This is just
Let's get a sniff there.
of how you can have a fragrance which can be absolutely uncomplicated and wonderful. I mean, you only really...
That's so good, isn't it?
Lavender, vanilla, and musk. I
will have a bit of that now.
Yeah, it's really good, isn't it? Oh, it is. When you first spray it, that lavender is quite... I wouldn't go so far as abrasive, but it's got that. If you ever grab some dried kind of lavender which has been dried in the sun and crush it in your hands, and you get that almost slightly acrid lavendery smell. Off the cap straight away, but eventually it's kind of absorbed by this warm, cuddly vanilla with some musk.
That's the thing. It starts off very stringent and herbaceous, but very quickly just settles into a creamy, rounded thing that's just a sort of constant purring presence.
Oh, so I mean,
and also when you think this is a version of, whilst being completely different from, Jiki.
Yeah, but it feels. Yeah,
but it's so totally different.
If you looked at the notes, I mean, if you looked at the kind of the broad brushstrokes of the notes, they look very, very similar. Lavender, vanilla, and musk, but it somehow feels completely different.
Wonderful, wonderful fragrance. And again, like so many of these here that we're talking about, cheap.
Yeah.
Still really accessible.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're 120 ml bottles, aren't they? And you can pick these, without looking too hard online, you can pick these up for about 40 quid. Yeah.
Even cheaper, I bet.
Yeah, even cheaper. Awesome stuff. Next, we're skipping forwards a bit. We're skipping, I understand something happened in Europe in the late 30s and in the 40s.
There was some asshole going around town and just lording up.
There were generally, when we did our Guerlain video, we said, there seems to be a gap between the 30s to the 40s. I wonder what happened there. And then we kind of realised, yes, there was World War II. So there's...
And also there seems to be a slight gap in perfumes being made at the moment. And I wonder if that's anything to do with a certain little fucking bat-infested bug that's going around.
1953.
So where have we skipped to? Now, that was a very interesting year because, of course, that was the year of the coronation. And it was also the year that Everest was conquered. And it was also the year of, ta-da, Estée Lauder Youth Dew. There it is. I hate the little bow on the front, but it's proper dark juice, and it's wonderful.
Amazing.
Oh, do you know, if you like the big Chypres of the sort of 20s, this, you've got to try it. And I urge any guys out there, don't be put off by the fact you find this in the women's section and it has a little bow. You can remove that bow. I'm keeping it on there because I like it, even though I hate it. But you know, it's mossy. It's full of balsamic notes. It's full of resins. It smells like cherry Coke a little bit, sort of powdery. Oh, it's absolutely glorious. I mean, it goes on a little bit rough for the first minute, and then it's like a transformative experience.
Amazing. But again, like, you know, how much can you get hold of that? Like,
this was £20.
Yeah, and I think it's, you know, some of the big kind of expensive Chypres, you know, that's when you're getting into serious big bucks.
Yeah, I mean, but this
Roger Dobbs, Chypre extraordinaire.
Estée Lauder, apparently, when they made this, I think this was the fragrance that put them on the market, that put them on, you know, on the, what do you call it? Not on the market. On, you know, it was on everybody's lips. You know, they launched themselves with that, and it came first of all as a bath oil, a really strong bath oil, and people fell in love with that, and so that was made.
Yeah.
There's also, which I don't have, but I will get. Tom Ford, when he was in charge at Estée Lauder, the perfume division, made Estée Lauder Youth Dew Amber, which is meant to be absolutely staggeringly good. Yeah. It's discontinued now, but you can still get it for decent prices.
Yeah.
And apparently it's amazing. So I'm gonna blind buy that as soon as I can.
Amazing.
But it's glorious.
Right. We're staying in a similar vein. This is of this list, the fragrance which I kind of acquired most recently. It's
yes,
by Geoffrey, and this is one which I after for a while recently got this. It's a little X-ray pure parfum, and when someone describes, I've heard a few people describe this as Kouros. There's a little actually extra bottle. Kouros meets Shalimar. I mean,
yeah,
it was an absolute.
That's a great description.
And also another thing about it, which made me had to have it. Michael Jackson wore it, so you know the two of us.
Did he?
We've got so much in common, yeah.
Shalimar.
But it's good. It is good, and you really get the Kouros thing. I'm going to put someone now. I kind of doubt it, but you really get the kind of Kouros thing straight away.
So what is that? An X-ray?
Yeah, this is a little pure.
That's it. Yeah, look at that.
15.
Isn't that beautiful?
Building. Ooh, love it. But
for any sort of niche snobs out there that might be thinking, well, these things are all sort of little cheapies that aren't significant. That thing takes pride of place in Roger Dove's 6th floor salon up in Harrods.
Yes, yeah.
In his little shop there.
Exactly, yeah. Well, that's I kind of
one of the great masterpieces of all time.
But it's this big. I mean, so I bought this X-ray on eBay, and I don't know quite how old it is. I don't think it's not desperately old, but it's not quite the animalic monster I expected it to be. But it's still a big. Especially now, I really get that kind of the animalic nature that you get from kind of.
Yeah.
It almost feels like my hands got a bit hot.
Really?
You know, it's the same.
It's working its magic then.
It's the same thing you get with Zalame by Papillon.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Masterpiece again.
But it's a big, sexy, rich Chypre.
They just don't make them like that now, do they?
No. Well,
the big companies again. I'm not talking about like Zalame is a.
Well, we'll
it's a welcome addition.
But we were thinking about doing a ridiculously long video, but our next video is going to be fragrances that we love, which are inspired by vintage fragrances.
Yeah,
because that's another one of our interests, and so we'll do a few links. But this is the kind of thing you can imagine, like a house like Papillon or Bourgogne or Anthony Gardone. All those people releasing this fragrance now.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be an absolute hit. Love it. I need to get that.
Grey flannel.
Look at that lovely little thing.
Now, this is my scent of the day. And Joe and I were just talking about this at the start of the video. So when I showed my video of my fragrance collection, a few people said, "What's grey flannel doing there? What's it doing in there?" And so I thought, I'll just revisit it. And this is a 60ml bottle. I think it cost me about £14-15. But this is a really, really great fragrance. Like, yes, it's a bit harsh when you first spray it. There's this kind of, I think it's neroli and galbanum, which would combine with a bit of oak moss. The first spray is very, very, very bitter. Almost unpleasantly bitter, I would say. But once you get over that, once you get about a minute in, it becomes this amazing, it's kind of the most masculine blue floral fragrance ever. You kind of get the kind of violet with a bit of iris and some other florals swimming around, but yet there's so much oak moss. It's kind of got this kind of big masculine fougere feel. And where are we? We're now 1975, so we're about to get into that kind of quite masculine oak mossy fougere.
It's a nice little transitional thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And still very underrated today.
Absolutely.
Am I right in thinking Luca Turin awards that 5 stars?
I think he does, and I think that was one of the ones.
I can understand that.
I thought, if I can get a 5-star fragrance for $13.99, and is it as good as, it's not a world-beating fragrance, but it's a really, really good one, and it costs so little money. Buy it, give it a go. Don't judge it on the first minute and a half because you won't like it. But give it time. It's good. It's a great spray.
It's lovely stuff.
Actually. I think that's the thing I was confusing it because it felt so bitter. I thought it was a heavy fragrance, whereas actually I think it's a spring fragrance. Right. So also in am I right? I can't read my handwriting. Sex Appeal?
Sex Appeal. That was, when was that? 75.
Yes. Is it really 75?
Yeah. 4 years before I was born, this thing was made by Jovan. So I've got to read you this quote again. Sex Appeal. Now you don't have to be born with it. This provocative, stimulating blend of rare spices and herbs was created by man for the sole purpose of attracting women at will. Man can never have enough. And it says that on the front of the box, in case you don't believe me.
But the funny thing is...
It's a terrible bottle as well.
The funny thing is, you can imagine that being on a Jeremy fragrance.
Oh, totally. It's the sexier fragrance, man.
Yeah.
No, this stuff actually, again, the opening is a little bit rough for a minute, but then actually the dry down is really beautiful. Really beautiful. It's moss, it's patchouli, it's all the spices, it's the sandalwood, beautiful bergamot, sort of citrusy opening, as all of these things had. But herbaceous, it's good stuff. I don't like the atomizer. You see that sort of cheap plasticky thing.
Yeah.
But I don't care. This was $7.99.
You get that with a lot of, there's things like the original Eau Sauvage and Diarella and things like that. They've got a plastic atomizer, haven't they?
Yeah.
When you look at the original bottles, they look quite don't they?
And I think they've tried to keep to the sort of original design of that, which is good. Yeah. But it's great stuff. I've never ever worn it and not enjoyed it.
Exactly.
It's not one of the great masterpieces of all time, but it's a good fragrance and it's well made and it's simple.
Awesome.
What else can you say?
And also, we spend so much time talking about fragrances which are 150 quid, 200 quid for 50 ml.
Yeah.
Of this, and what's that? Probably like 20 quid for
That's 50 ml. It's 88 ml.
Classic size.
Because you don't need the other 12 if you're a hot guy like me.
Yeah.
But I love it.
Brilliant.
So what year are we up to?
78. We've got two great fragrances here. We are coming back to the house of Caron.
Ah, yes.
Yatagan.
That's beautiful stuff, isn't it?
Oh, this so good, isn't it?
Dark and brooding.
It's dark. It's pine. This is. It's just interesting. I try and often say that all fragrances are kind of pretty unisex, but it's a heck of a woman that can wear this.
Yeah.
And it's Castoreum. This is one of the fragrances which made me look into what Castoreum was. And having smelt Castoreum, I've got some like pure kind of Castoreum oil. And it really is. It's this badger ball-y kind of... it's really...
It's a kind of... It's a very unapologetic thing, isn't it?
Mm.
It's not something to be worn to feel sort of confident or sort of inspired or chirpy and cheery on your day out. It's a beast of a thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uber masculine.
A friend of mine got married, I think it's 2 years ago, and he wore this for his wedding day.
Oh, are they still together?
They are, but it's
good. It worked.
It's so comforting. It's so lovely to wear it on an autumn day because it really feels like it just hugs you, and it's lovely stuff.
I haven't got my bottle here, sadly, but I own that, and again, I love it.
Yeah, awesome stuff. So, same year, 1978, another absolute Titanic fragrance.
Yes.
Well, I've got a 200ml bottle here.
That's enormous, isn't it?
Somebody's sending me like an old vintage version of this because this bottle is about. I've had it about 10 years ago or something like that. And someone's sending me an older version of this. I'm going to have a spray to remind me of this. We're now really getting 1978 to that kind of classic aromatic fougere, of which this is just...
It's a sort of... I think that's a benchmark fragrance.
It really is.
We talk about that sometimes, don't we? That something is a before and after kind of thing.
It's so good. And the aniseed in it as well makes it kind of... gives it like that pep and energy and brightness. Of course, kind of darkness, which you get. We haven't included Drakkar Noir in this list, but for me, Ansaro is just infinitely better.
It's another level. Yeah,
it's so elegant, and this is the kind of thing that you.
There's a lot more going on.
If Tom Ford's released Beau de Jour, which he's just released his second version of, but you kind of think if he had released this exact juice in a Tom Ford private blend bottle, people wouldn't bat an eye. I really don't think they would bat an eyelid.
No.
Yeah,
it says a lot about the way the market goes these days.
Absolutely, and yet my 200ml bottle cost me like 45 quid or something.
Yeah, but it's great because it's sort of harkening back to that sort of masculine barbershoppy, slight sort of chest wig territory, but it doesn't quite lose its elegance at the same time.
You're absolutely right. Like it verges on quite chest wiggy, but it doesn't have that kind of Drakkar Noir, slightly brash Sex Panther kind of thing. You know?
No.
But this doesn't feel lockery. This still feels. Yeah, I'm very happy to wear this. Like I do wear it out.
I think it's quite a Wall Street sort of thing. Busy energy on the stock market. That kind of thing. Confident. It's great stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely great stuff.
Brilliant stuff. Ansaro, pour on.
I need to get that.
1981, I think. Kouros.
81, Kouros, here we are. I mean, what is there left to say about this thing? It's actually, the more I wear it, the more I find things in it. But it's not just this animalic thing that it is associated with. The older stuff definitely is, but now it's a lot fresher. It's got quite a lot of crispness and energy to it. But then it's a civety urinal cake thing that is in the center of it, which I love. Quite a bold fragrance, even for the 80s, I think.
And massive. But that's, you remember
slightly dirty.
We did that video where Greggy Boy sent us some samples. And he sent us an original bottle, like a sample of an original bottle of that. And oh my God, I was absolutely blown away.
It was incredible, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes people talk about the hype with vintage bottles of things and say, oh, well, you can't always have it both ways. Things were maybe greater in the past and now they're not.
Yeah.
But actually, in that case, I think it genuinely was a different level.
Yeah.
Not in every case, But I think that's one that was in a different level. But still today, I'd happily buy it again.
It's just amazing. It's such bold stuff. I mean, especially that 81 stuff. You just, the We Smell. I cannot conceive of a designer releasing something like that now.
No.
Something as bold as that. It's just unthinkable that, all these kind of like workshop groups it must have passed. You can't imagine it's going to pass that many testings. And people go, oh yeah, it smells a bit of like a beaver's testicles, but yeah, fine. But,
yeah, let's make 10 of them.
But yeah, amazing stuff.
We need more fragrances like that in the world.
We do. Speaking of which, I mean, on a similar kind of vibe, same year, 81.
Yes. Masterpiece.
So this is, I'm going to have a squirt of this one.
Absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. Let me have a squirt. The other thing, well, not the other thing, but one of the things about this is it's good atomizer as well. Good big atomizer on this one.
Yeah.
So you get that animalic note straight from the start of this.
Yeah.
I find
it doesn't pull any punches.
With this more than with Kouros, there's so much going on in this. There's so much kind of floral complexity in the middle of this. It's
great, isn't it?
It's amazing how animalic it is. Actually, it really is.
The fact that they still make that today means that I'm happy with a million Bleu de Chanels or similar. So long as they keep that on the shelves.
It's still got that kind of like 70s, 80s, real, as you said, like chest wiggy, aromatic fougere kind of feel. It's got the animalic twang. But when you wear it, there's quite a lot more going around the mid as well. All those florals floating around. All those kind of hyper masculine things. There's some really delicate, soft floral things going on.
Yeah, it feels incredibly balanced, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because of that.
Yeah.
It doesn't veer too heavily on either side.
Yeah. Amazing. Right.
Antaeus, love it.
84, Giorgio.
84, yes. Again, it's a similar thing to a lot of the sort of powerhouses of the 80s. The oak moss, the patchouli, they're all there. The citruses in the opening are all very bright and well done. Again, actually quite a smooth beast. I expected there's a sort of honey aspect in there as well. And it's a sort of lovely green color. I don't know if you can tell that. It's interesting. But it's this is very much a Wall Street kind of fragrance. Gordon Gekko in a sort of sharp suit with a big double lapels,
American Psycho kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. I really love it. Again, real cheapy, like 15 quid.
For 100 ml.
But it's so good. And I think, I've not maybe mentioned it, but these were the smells I was smelling when I grew up.
Yeah.
Especially the 80s. These were the things that were just in the air. So I've subliminally absorbed all of those smells and fallen in love with them years later.
Well, it's really sad.
So that's why I love the sort of vintagey style.
And I think, yeah, I feel a little bit sad really because we did our fragrances which made me a fraghead and Polo Green. It's just called Polo actually, but the green bottle is the one that I really remember first wearing, and I don't have a bottle, so I really need to get myself a bottle just to try.
You do,
because transport myself back to being a 14-year-old boy.
Yeah, I think you'd have a good time with it.
Right, this next one is really good, really, really good. 85. I was 2. That's Zorro.
That sounded expensive.
It's that Zorro. It's a big solid bottle.
Okay.
It's our third bottle of Caron. Amazing house. Troisième Homme. This.
Yeah.
This is.
There she is.
Oh, yeah. This is stupid good.
It's amazing, isn't it?
I think you've got.
That is one of the most beautiful things.
It really is. This is one of the best. I'm trying to look through the list. This is one of the very best on the list.
Yeah, for sure. It's sort of the kind of thing Winston Churchill might wear, I think. Sort of cigars and moss. James Bond.
It's difficult I find this one quite difficult to describe actually because it's kind of a lavendery aromatic fougere, but it's not oak mossy. Like lots of the things we described, I've got this heavy, almost acrid oak moss, and you don't get that at all. I get when I wear it, I get quite a lot of clove as well.
Oh, interesting.
There's something about the sandalwood and the musk in this, which just gives it this luxurious bed of elegance, which I have to say, for me, it kind of stands out as, if I were to compare, so what this one drop, these two, this smells more expensive. If I compare these two, this smells more expensive.
Yeah.
It's difficult to describe. It just feels like a really classy, expensive fragrance.
It's so beautifully rounded. There are just no rough edges on that at all, I think. And it's like a good Michelin star dish. Yeah. It's not overladen with 1,000,001 different things. If you look on the menu and it says, I don't know, lamb cutlets with fried potatoes, that's what you get on the plate. You can see you can identify what you're getting. And I think this is one of those. It's not a sort of cacophony of noise. It's just elegant. It's blended nicely. You can pick out the notes without them being sort of disparate. Yeah,
it's not, and yet it is different. It's still kind of, I guess, a kind of an aromatic fougere, but it is very different from the aromatic fougères we've just listed.
Yeah, and it doesn't have any of that bracing sort of introduction that you then have to.
Absolutely.
You then have to sort of wait for it to disappear. The whole thing is just a sort of segue into a dry down that goes on forever for me. I love it.
So you've got another, I think, as well, a very similar thing, which is 1985 as well.
Another 85, yeah. I mean, we've spoken about this before, but Bois de Portugal from Creed. I love this one. This is the first Creed I wore, and for me, it's probably the best thing they did in the sort of recent years. By recent, I don't mean the last 10 years. I mean since the 80s, as compared to vintage Tabarome and things like that. But yeah, it's really good stuff. Again, it's the combination of the citruses, the sandalwood, the it's not mossy, but it has that feel.
Yeah,
it's not an oak moss monster, but it has a lovely mossy, velvety base.
See, I always think that this has got a similar feel to Troisième Homme.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, how do you?
They're cousins.
Having smelling the two side by side, how do you feel they kind of?
I have to say, I still think Troisième Homme has more personality. I think, I mean, the Creed is beautiful, but the Creed, you kind of know what you're getting with Creed, and they've got decent ingredients and all the rest of it. But Creed has made very much a sort of a reference, a benchmark.
Yeah.
But it's a very calculated reference benchmark. It says, look, this is our version of blah.
Yeah.
Whereas this feels like it sort of flies its own direction a little bit.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I mean, we should also say that, the Caron's about quarter of the price of the Creed.
Yeah, I mean, that stuff now is 250 quid for a bottle that size, if you're lucky. It's a no-brainer.
Whereas the Carons, that's Yatagan, but all of the Carons, you can, 120 ml, you can pick up for like 45 quid on eBay.
Yeah, it's really good.
Amazing. Right, another awesome one. Zino,
yes.
Which is 88.
That's Zino right there.
So I only smelled this for the first time when Joe had it a couple of months ago.
Yeah, in a little pub in Hammersmith.
Yeah.
There she is.
And
I'll say at the outset. Yeah, you go on. You're on it already.
You've got it. You do the talk.
But if you like Beau de Jour from Tom Ford, buy this.
Yeah.
Blind buy this. I have no hesitation. It's beautiful. It's the same fragrance basically. This came first.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful. And of course, this was hot on the heels of Cool Water. In what year was Cool Water? 88 was Cool Water.
Yeah.
So this was 1 year later, and it's really stunning. It's really stunning. It's the oak moss. It's the patchouli again, but it has a really silvery light to it as well, which I I can't put my finger on what that is.
Yeah.
But it has a real brightness to it as well. Very creamy, very, very creamy.
It was interesting. I was looking as we were compiling this video. I picked up Rive Gauche by YSL.
Yeah.
But it's actually 2001.
Yeah, it feels like it should be a sort of
you feel it's
hot on the heels of the female version.
Yeah, but you feel it's in the same place as Zino and Acqua.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't. When I smelt it a few months ago, and it was shortly after a few weeks after we did our review of the private line, not private line, the Boise
lens.
Yeah, then not the private blend.
The signature.
The signature line version of Boise, and I couldn't believe how close Zino was. But again, for a fraction of the price. Right, next one.
Wonderful stuff.
Next one, an absolute titan of a fragrance from 1988, Fahrenheit. I haven't got a bottle.
Yes. Now, my bottle isn't here. My bottle is in Earl's Court. But this is the Fahrenheit Absolute, which I also have. This came much later. But Fahrenheit is an absolute masterpiece, and I still think today it's worth owning because it's this weird combination of like violet leaf and citrus, but then sort of petroleum, hot tarmac, slight sweetness. I mean, it's very weird, but very wonderful.
But amazing, isn't it?
And that's the same sort of bottle. The vintage is a slightly different design, obviously.
And you were saying, actually, when we chatted a bit before this, and we were talking about grey flannel, how that's kind of got violet in it. And maybe it was, in a funny way, it doesn't smell like Fahrenheit, but maybe it was a kind of a slight precursor. This kind of blue floral, which violet leaf is a bit different to kind of violet. But the fact that you've got violet leaf, kind of a floral thing, which is so hyper masculine. And I think it's also Fahrenheit's definitely for me. It's like a massive precursor to Tuscan leather as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It set that sort of wheels in motion a little bit for things which had what would be considered sort of floral, feminine attributes in a perfume, and thought, actually, no, the modern man needs something more rounded, a bit of the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Same with Knies, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a different era where that was more the norm. So these things are kind of getting it back, maybe.
Yeah.
Even though we're talking about these being vintage, they were looking back themselves. So to the classics and the greats. So it's reassuring.
1989,
Aspen. Again, I urge everyone to buy this because it's so good. This, I mean, even the bottle design tells you a little clue. That's it there. And this is basically a combination of cool water and green Irish tweed for about £8, and it's really beautifully blended. There, I mean, no rough edges. I actually have some on this wrist from earlier, and it's absolutely stunning. Sort of slightly milky as well. No hint of the sort of big aquatic colonic. I was going to say colonic irrigation, but no sense of it being a big bracing shower gel in your face thing. It's very green and mossy and delicate. I love it, and it's by Coty, which is worth mentioning. Obviously, a former house of great repute.
Yeah, absolutely, amazing.
But I don't know if they're still making this actually. But I think they are.
I don't know.
I got this for about £8 years ago.
Bargain. Same year, another massive, amazing fragrance. I've had this for ages. It's virtually run out. This is my Patricia de Nicolai New York.
Yeah.
It's basically empty. But
it's a masterpiece.
Because I've got a bottle of the New York Intense.
Yes.
So
that's great stuff as well.
Most people do say that the New York Intense is closer to what this used to smell like than the current version of this dust.
Yeah.
But,
I would urge anyone now to just buy the Intense.
Tell you what,
if they like that.
Although the notes list is not the same, but this is close. It's very similar to Toisiamon, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a big link there between those two and Bois de Portugal.
Yeah, absolutely. But
and La Ligue pour Homme, the one with the lion on it.
Yeah.
They're all sort of sharing that space.
I mean, this is a funny one because I think you would urge people to buy the 2014 release, which is the New York Intense, as opposed to the 89 version. But I think if we're judging that the 2014 version is a reinvention and coming back to this original 89, it deserves to be in the list. I mean, absolute masterpiece.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, real.
I think it's a great fragrance.
Like, it's surely the best office fragrance, ever.
Yeah,
absolutely classy. Yeah, maybe.
It's dandified at the same time as being kind of stoical. It's good combination.
Well, so I was going to say, there's a relation to Mouchoir de Monsieur as well, I think. And therefore Jiki and Caron pour un Homme and all those kind of lavender things.
It's very classical. The structure of it it's a benchmark. I mean, you could give that to people training. Training in perfumery.
It's got Guerlain written all over it. I mean, literally, but Patricia Nicolai is she's the great niece of Jean-Paul Guerlain. Is that right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's by all the rights, kind of the heir to the Guerlain throne, and it just feels like a Guerlain fragrance through and through.
And she should by rights be running Guerlain now.
Yeah. But she's
sad days. We're very glad that she has her own wonderful company.
Something completely different from 1992 from Chypre.
So this is a pivotal thing. Angel. Just sort of chocolatey patchouli. It's loud, it's brash, but it started this whole sort of fruit chili thing that was going to become huge.
Generation, it's complete epoch defining fragrance.
But I do like it. I smell it, and it is good stuff. I have associations with it. I think a lot of us do.
Yeah.
That you smell things in certain places and you think, oh God, no. But taking on its own merits, I think it's a really important fragrance.
Absolutely.
The chocolatey thing is really good, and because it's sweet, but it's not sickly sweet.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a little bit cloying. I don't know,
yeah.
But there's something about it which it represents the time.
Absolutely.
And so it deserves to sort of be in the list, I think.
I mean, I really, really nearly included in this because my brother bought me for Christmas. Bought me a can of Lynx Africa, and I nearly included that in this list because again, it's so like an epoch-defining kind of. If you're a teenage boy growing up in the 90s, everybody had Lynx Africa.
Yeah, it was absolutely. I had Alaska in '91. I remember that being quite beautiful.
Classic, yeah.
I miss those things. I might try and buy a vintage Alaska on eBay. I'm sure there is one.
So we've still got a couple of left. We're into the 90s. 1990, only our second Chanel of the list. Egoiste.
Ah, yes.
The original one, not Platinum. I can't stand Platinum Egoiste. I hate it.
I don't see the point of Platinum Egoiste.
I remember when I first tried this, I bought... Oh.
They are. Sorry, it's just telling me my battery is low.
When I first tried to sample this, I bought a sample online. I actually accidentally bought Platinum Egoiste. I was like, oh God, what is this? This is awful.
Oh no.
It's not the rich sandalwoody thing I was hoping for, because that's what you get with this. Oh, rich kind of stewed fruit, sandalwood, luxurious. Slight
clove thing in there as well, isn't there, somewhere?
Yeah, definitely.
Slightly dirty, but not too much.
I mean, I guess my only problem with this fragrance is that Sandalwood by Duo Trumpet is kind of a similar thing, but done better.
Yeah. It's a lot smoother.
Yeah.
And it has I think it has a lot more going on florally as well.
Yeah. And
lovely rose.
And the Sandalwood on the whole just feels a bit more creamy, luxurious.
Yeah.
But it's still a great, it's a great fragrance.
I suspect it's been cleaned up so much over the years.
Yeah.
That we're getting a bit of a shadow.
Yeah. Last one, 1998. This is a great fragrance.
Yes.
Total
masterpiece
by Boucheron. This is one which, if it was, if this was, released by Frederick Malle or something, and it cost £200, you would not. I really think you wouldn't bat an eyelid. It's just amazing quality. Again, it's quite simple. It's kind of this kind of cinnamon, bit of citrus, bit of vanilla, bit of spice. It's not desperately.
It really works.
But it's just amazing. It's so elegant. It smells expensive. It smells classy.
Yeah.
It's so good.
And it's such a cheapie that people overlook it. It doesn't mean there's anything not to love.
And this is another one, actually, because I've also got the EDP, but I kind of prefer the EDT. I get amazing performance from this EDT. Although my cap keeps falling apart. The cap's quite cheap, but then if you buy a £35 fragrance, I guess that's what you expect. But I think with the EDT, I get a slightly more transparent quality to it. Not to say it doesn't last, because it does, but I feel that you get more of an experience of everything going on, whereas the EDP feels richer and creamier, but a bit more solid. Yeah,
it's sort of it settles down to the floor a bit quicker, doesn't it?
It's so good, so good,
and great bottle as well. It's one of my favourite bottles, I think.
It's easy. It's so easy to get, caught up in the next new release and get excited about things and forget that for a 20th of the price, there's something really good which exists.
Yeah, totally. We all do it, and we're chasing after the next big thing. But it's worth reminding ourselves of these guys, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
because they're all still going strong.
On Instagram recently, I did my top 11 Guerlain fragrances, and having done that, you kind of realise that pretty much all of those are better than anything else which has been released in the last 25, 30 years.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of scary.
Yeah, and especially these times when you're locked down and you can't get out. Maybe it's time to look to the back of the cupboard at those fragrances which you've neglected a little bit.
Yeah,
because you bought the new exciting new thing.
They smell very good.
No,
I think they're all just from the time when fragrances were meant for everybody, and you could buy these things in your high streets.
Yeah.
None of them were requiring a special niche boutique somewhere. They were the things that were out there. I mean, the Bois de Portugal maybe not, but everything else.
But I don't know. But they were still, I think it's difficult. That is kind of true. But on the other hand, I think they were, it wasn't available in your local Boots, in your local pharmacist. I think a lot of these, your Acqua de Parma, it was, and the same with all your kind of Guerlains and things. They were luxury items. But the fact that they've survived in many cases 100 years or more, you really wonder if anything being released at the moment is going to survive that time.
Who knows? I hope.
Yeah. So in our next video,
only time will tell.
Of this, or connected with this video, is our favourite fragrances inspired by vintage fragrances.
Yeah, that's a great one. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. So it goes without saying, we said at the beginning, there are loads of gaps here. It's not the history of perfume. It's not the best vintage fragrances. These are just ones we own and love.
Yeah.
I'm sure loads of people are going to have their favourites. So let us know.
Yeah.
Or just send us...
I'd be very curious to see what people say.
Yeah.
Because it's like going down a rabbit hole.
Absolutely. Awesome.
Enjoy.
But until next time, happy sniffing.
Bye.